Monday, July 6, 2020. I'm Mike Ryan, and this is Bnap Today. India has inaugurated the world's largest temporary COVID-19 hospital as the country grapples with rapidly rising cases. David Doyle has more.
With a capacity of 10,000 beds, the world's largest temporary COVID-19 hospital opened in India on Sunday as the country battles with accelerating cases of the respiratory disease. The hospital was inaugurated in New Delhi on the same day that the Health Ministry reported a record single-day spike of 24,850 new cases and more than 600 deaths. India is the fourth worst affected country globally with more than 673,000 cases and is facing another challenge with predicted heavy rains. In Mumbai, monsoon rains have caused waterlogging in many parts of the city, which could scuttle containment efforts by causing a further rise in infections, according to experts. India had imposed one of the toughest lockdowns in the world, but is now gradually easing restrictions that have left tens of thousands of people without work. On Monday, the Taj Mahal and other monuments will be reopened, though visitors to the mausoleum will have to wear masks at all times, keep their distance, and are banned from touching the marble surfaces.
COVID-19 numbers globally continue to rise. Spain imposes a second local lockdown in just 2 days. The Philippines records the highest single-day jump in new cases, and India reports another record case rise. In the US, cases numbers drop, but national celebrations could lead to a surge. Up next, is it the end for the Queen of the Skies? I hope not, Your Majesty.
We are here.
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 Is Boeing ending production of the 747 Jumbo? Francis Maguire reports.
Boeing has signalled the end for the 747 jumbo jet. That's according to sources speaking Friday. They said the plane maker and its suppliers set the final number of parts it would need for the 747 program at least a year ago. The plane helped democratise global air travel in the 1970s and celebrated its 50-year flying anniversary in 2019. But Boeing's so-called Queen of the Skies fell behind modern twin-engine aircraft in more recent years. The program has seen falling orders and pricing pressures. The virus outbreak also crushed passenger travel and demand for new jets. A cargo market boom fueled by online shopping kept the plane alive during the last few years, just about. The last order for a passenger version came in 2017. That when the US government asked Boeing to repurpose 2 jetliners for use as Air Force One by the president. Boeing has refused to confirm whether it is ending the 747 program. If it goes ahead, it could mean charges and layoffs for stopping production at its wide-body plant outside Seattle.
President Trump rallied against angry mobs that try to tear down statues and other historical figures, warning thousands of supporters at Mount Rushmore that protesters were trying to erase US history.
We will expose this dangerous movement, protect our nation's children, end this radical assault, and preserve our beloved American way of life. In our schools, our newsrooms, even our corporate boardrooms, there is a new far-left fascism that demands absolute allegiance. If you do not speak its language, perform its rituals, recite its mantras, and follow its commandments, then you will be censored, banished, blacklisted, persecuted, and punished. It's not going to happen to us. Make no mistake, this left-wing cultural revolution is designed to overthrow the American Revolution. Our children are taught in school to hate their own country and to believe that the men and women who built it were not heroes, but that were villains. The radical view of American history is a web of lies. All perspective is removed. Every virtue is obscured. Every motive is twisted. Every fact is distorted. And every flaw is magnified until the history is purged and the record is disfigured beyond all recognition.
Coming up next, part 2 of the interview we did with Hong Kong business tycoon Allan Zeman.
We are lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Join the movement. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
As chairman of Lan Kwai Fong Holdings, Allan Zeman continues to influence various industries, both in China and Asia at large. This is part 2 of a 2-part interview with Hong Kong's Allan Zeman.
I can understand, people around the world. Obviously, we've got every country, EU, even Australia. I mean, Five Eyes, the Five Eyes. You've got the U.S. that suddenly is going to sanction, against Hong Kong, because now we'll decide that Hong Kong is China now. It's not its own place of doing business. If you really get into see what the security law is all about, it's really to protect the people, to protect people from terrorism. And I've said one thing: I'm not worried about the law, because I'm not planning on breaking it. I'm not planning on making bombs or ammunition, importing guns from overseas, which is exactly what happened. I mean, some guy just got arrested today. There was the protest yesterday in Hong Kong, and it was July 1st, which is traditional. And police said some guy used a knife and went after a police officer. And there's a picture of the police officer's arm bleeding, full of blood. I mean, you can't have that. This is not Hong Kong. This cannot go on. It should not go on. So security law is actually a good thing. But of course, because of the political rhetoric against China, everybody now wants to blame China for the virus and all the other problems that they have at home. Politicians are very good at finding other sources of putting blame on things that they mess up on. And so I've learned that. And so I think in general the public is happy about the security law, and the devil is in the details. I've been here for 50 years. I've lived through 1997 when people thought the end of Hong Kong. This is the end of our freedom. 23 years later, we're freer today than we were under the British administration. The British, with all the things, they did good things for Hong Kong, but at the end of the day, the British always appointed a governor to Hong Kong. We couldn't vote for who was coming out. We lived under, different appointed governors. And Hong Kong people, in general, under the British, I remember it very well, the Chinese were basically subservient. They just stamped everything, even the legislative assembly. The British just paved the way, and the legislators just stamped it. Once China took over, things changed, and you had a Chinese chief executive. And actually, in the basic law of Hong Kong, we can have universal suffrage, so we're allowed to have people to really run for election. And a few years ago, 5 years ago, we're going to have universal suffrage for the chief executive, but it was conditional. China was a baby step forward for China. But again, the legislative assembly, which is really, really divided, they nixed it, and so it didn't get done. But it is in our basic law, and you can say whatever you want, but it just got carried to, freedom of expression is important, but when you start advocating independence, carrying signs, and many people have become misguided, and so you need to kind of have laws in order to protect the country and put everything back on the right track. And I think that's basically what the security law is meant to be. It's not meant to restrict people's freedoms, business as usual. Listen, if China wanted, all they needed to do was just have one country and say, okay, everything, you're now going to follow all China's laws, that's it. But they've said, listen, the security law is here to protect Hong Kong because we were not happy with what was going on last year. And so basically, they just want everything to be, have a better life for the people of Hong Kong. And so basically, it's security law, but two systems remains, and they've said it very, very clearly, and that will remain. And I think in the next few months, when people see that not much has changed, I think that basically people will forget about it and go on to some other problem around the world, so politicians can then take aim at that.
I think we have COVID at the moment, and that's sort of tying up just about everybody, and then we dabble with internal politics of various countries. But COVID's not going to go away for a long, long time, and I think it's. I think there's a few more interesting roads to travel before we get out of this.
Well, you're right, because basically, airline travel, I mean, many businesses will have to reinvent themselves. I mean, airline travel is almost non-existent in the world today, compared to what it used to be. And people will not get on an airplane, many, until they feel comfortable. I think you probably need a test, maybe a 2 or 3 minute test that is very, very almost instantaneous, that you'll probably have to go through a test, because to get on an airplane, I think everybody will feel much more comfortable knowing that everyone's been tested and tested negatively, so you're not sitting with someone on the airplane that's infected so many people. I mean, we've just had in Hong Kong, people coming back from India on an airplane. There was 28 infections. Luckily, it's gone into quarantine. But so these are things that you'll have to adjust. The world will have to adjust to with the COVID-19. And if you look at what's happening in the U.S., it's a nightmare. As of they've got 128,000 people already died.
Incredible.
Which is terrible. Incredible. That's the problem with the system, whereby it's decentralized by every state does their own thing. The government has not lack of leadership. Government has not taken the steps, because politicians are worried about the next election in November and getting reelected and saying, oh, there's no problem. This will go away the same way. They're still saying even today, this will go away same way that it came eventually, but it will have killed a lot of people and destroyed a lot of businesses and destroyed the lives of many, many families. So, I mean, really, this needs to be government-led. And that's something that's only governments know how to do this. And taking the precautions that we've taken in Hong Kong have really helped to keep the numbers very, very low. And, if you were to if you're in Hong Kong at the moment, you would know there's a problem. It's just yes, it's like a non-event right now.
One of the great cities of the world and great locations. It
really is.
It's just stunning.
And nothing has changed. It's stunning. It'll continue. And don't believe the media.
No, I think the media has a lot to be accounted for. Either side, by the way. I think it's hysteria personified, and it's.
Listen, I understand both sides. I understand, people, but. Problem with social media today with the internet is it's unregulated, and social media, you can say anything. The problem is many people read, if it's on the internet, it must be true, and that's totally different than when we were growing up. We didn't have such a thing, and you only could communicate from the TV or radio or our newspapers, but today it's all on social media, and that is a real problem because you can incite, and that's exactly what happened. You can incite people for hatred. You can incite people, because people are very, very gullible. And I found that's one of the biggest problems in the world, not just Hong Kong, but because we're next to China and many, many countries are worried about the rise of China. Listen, I've been there for 35 years. I've seen China go from being a backward country and with 1.4 billion people to literally being one of the best countries in the world. And people, people's lives have literally just blossomed. I mean, they're the number one tourist around the world today. Everyone's trying to cater to them. Their lives, they have one car, two cars, nice homes. In general, they have a decent life, and they're not unhappy. I have a lot of staff in China. They're not unhappy, but I know the rhetoric that goes around about, oh my God, it's terrible. And I think nations fear, Chinese in general are not, they all they want to do is have a better life for their people. It's not easy to run a country of 1.4 billion people. I understand it. And in any country, if people are not happy, they revolt. People in general in China are happy, and because it's 1.4 billion people, you need to have regulations that are maybe unlike the U.S. or Australia, whatever. Listen, every system is different. Every political system is different. I've realized that there is no one system that beats all. Because they all have their problems, and you just have to work with it.
Look, born in Germany, raised in Canada, citizen of China now, and one of the great success stories, not only as a Hong Konger, but a globally respected businessman. Where to now, though, for Allan Zeman, Lan Kwai Fong, and, of course, Hong Kong?
I think, we will continue to build out, resorts, property-related, villas, build lifestyle, doing lifestyle events. I think that for us, we dabble in technology, but the problem is technology just changes so quickly, and it's not something that I've kind of abandoned. We have some of it, but we use technology a lot, but it's not something that I want to start tinkering with. But I think
wise.
We're very. Yes, because it's like a bottomless pit. You create something that's everybody goes into, and then suddenly your neighbor has got something that's better mousetrap. And so for us, I think I always say, do what you're good at doing. We build very, very nice product. We design very nice product. We will continue to do that. Continue the lifestyle of making people happy. every business that I've ever done is really improving the lifestyle of people, from being in the fashion business originally to property development to F&B to every kind of business. I have a film company that I've had for 30 years in the U.S. So it's really about a lifestyle for people, and that's something that we will always try to do and always try to be part of.
Mm-hmm. And what about for Hong Kong, though? Where do you see the future?
I think Hong Kong will continue. I mean, the beauty of Hong Kong is that we are part of China, and the beauty of Hong Kong. China 2 years ago came through with a new standard that they're going to be having something called the Greater Bay Area, the GBA they call it, which is 11 cities within southern China.
Wow.
Hong Kong, Macau, Shenzhen, Guangzhou. Those are the four main cities, and then others like Zhuhai, Foshan, some of the peripheral cities. But the four cities combined all are connected by high-speed rail. It now takes Hong Kong to Shenzhen takes a half hour on the train. You know, and
it's amazing,
actually
isn't it?
It could be quicker. Yeah, and so the borders of Hong Kong are really expanding. So you have in that area, all within 1.5 2 hour radius of travel time. It's 70 million people. Hong Kong has 7.5 million people, but how about 70 million people? And with a GDP last year of 1.65 trillion US dollars.
Wow,
very, very wealthy. Yes. It's actually beats Russia, and it's bigger than South Korea. And so that is the future of Hong Kong for Hong Kong. Doing what we have, we have independent judiciary, our low tax base, financial center in the world, in one of the financial centers of the world. That will continue and probably become the financial center for the Greater Bay Area for all that business that exists out there. And the border will become porous. You'll have people setting up businesses just across the border. And suddenly, that's the future of Hong Kong. Hong Kong on its own needs to change because, at one time Hong Kong was 17% of China's GDP. China depended on Hong Kong, but today we're only about less than 3% because China's really come up and doing their own thing. We do have the common law system, which is respected around the world, the independent judiciary. That will continue. So Hong Kong will continue to have its place, but its place is being part of China. China needs Hong Kong. Hong Kong is the gateway to the world for China, and also the gateway to China from the rest of the world, because of our judiciary, because of our low tax base, and head offices will continue to open up in Hong Kong. So that's something that will continue. And I just see, once we get past this rhetoric that we're kind of living with, and this nightmare actually, and including COVID-19 and the protests, hopefully we can then get back to a normal life and the Hong Kong people having a much better life than they have right now. Our strength is China.
Now, last time we spoke many, many years ago, and we still look the same. We may lie a bit about that, but we're allowed to. But I meant to ask you then, because you're the entertainment person, the Mr. Entertainment almost of Hong Kong.
Yes.
Can you dance? Do you have any good moves?
Actually, I can dance, but believe it or not, Mr. Entertainment does not drink.
I know
water.
that,
I'm
yes.
very, very healthy. I've never drank a beer in my life. Don't tell any Aussies that.
No, but I won't. My lips are sealed, Alan.
I've never drank a beer in my life. I just don't like the taste, and I don't drink alcohol or wine or anything. I'm just it's just one of my things. But I sell a lot of it, and so I think the key is to know what your customers like to do, and that's been my success, I guess.
Well, I used to help my dancing. A few drinks, I would create new moves every time, and after a while, I was told to stop moving on the floor, so I stopped completely.
Yeah.
Allan Zeman, a real pleasure, and we must do this next time we're in Hong Kong, and do it from one of your restaurants or hotels, and
yes.
we could have the Allan Zeman perspective of the new Hong Kong.
Absolutely, and Hong Kong will go from strength to strength, and so everybody just have faith, keep it up, and keep coming back to Hong Kong. I guarantee you'll have the time of your life.
Allan, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Allan Zeman, a proud Hong Konger. That's it from me for today. Be safe and kind. I'm Mike Ryan.